Good morning. Thank you, choir. The choir's been working so hard for a couple of months, and so you work so hard, and you can't just do all that work for 1 hour. And so, usually music guys, worship leaders, try to start doing those a few at a time to kind of lead up to that. And that was awesome today. Thank you so much. And the song that Shelley did with the choir was just a real reminder to me, that we have to work so hard to make sure this month that we don't lose sight of that one little thing that she said. Child, you are loved. The whole thing this Christmas is you are loved by God. God loves you so much. And we started last Sunday night at our house. And we started our own little Advent thing that we do. But it's not it's not a pretty thing where it's a fight. It's a fight that we're not going to lose what this is about. We're not going to lose that. And I'm telling you, you're going to be bloody before this season is over. If you fight, because everything around us is reducing it and belittling it and saying we can't call it that, and all of the material, all of those kinds of things. And that's not the sermon. I'm just for my family and me, we are fighting like crazy to hold on to what Christmas really, really means. Does that make sense? And so, fight that. Take those. Grab a musical book from the choir and take it home with you, and whatever you have to do to fight to hang on to Jesus and what it means. Secondly, it's church. There are several opportunities for you, like Sunday and Wednesday, and there are things going on. Get together. Let's fight together. To fight to keep each other together during this season. I'm telling you, I'm determined. I'm not going to let whoever it is win. I don't know. I started to say Hollywood. It's not Hollywood. I'm not going to let materialism win. I'm just not going to do it. And so that we started that Sunday night. Then Monday night, Terry and I went to a conference this week in Florida. And we left Tuesday, so Monday we had our little family powwow about who gets to do what while we're gone, and who's got the kids, and who takes the trash to the dump, and blah, blah, blah. And so we were around the table, and Matthew came, and he was seating with us. For those of you who are visiting and don't know, I have 9 children. You're going, what's he talking about? So anyway, so we're gathered all around, not all 11 of us, but most of us anyway, kind of discussing the week and what was supposed to go on and who had to take Brooks to practice. And so anyway, it went from that into this conversation at our house about during Christmas really working on our childlike faith. And so, we were deep in discussion about how we do that, how we're going to do that as a family, to hang on to a childlike faith and to use this season to get that back into our life even after Christmas is over, that we live out this childlike faith. And so we talked about words like, I want to live with wonder. I want to go at life wide-eyed with excitement and anticipation, all of those things like a child. So we're discussing that on this adult level about how we're going to pull that off. Meanwhile, nobody really notices except Terry and me out of the corner of our eyes. Mary is over at the corner of the table with a Sharpie in her left hand. It was so funny. A couple of choir members saw this. Mary didn't know this was going to happen today. And so this little catalog that she had that night was laying on the front pew, and she looks and she goes, I won't tell you the nickname she calls me, because then you're going to call me that, and I don't want you to call me that. So she calls me by my nickname. She goes, "Come on, you embarrassed me last week." Oh, man. So she's over at the corner of the table. Now we're talking about, God, we want to hang on, this childlike faith thing. And so Mary has her Sharpie in her left hand, And she's going through the pages, and on page 4, she has a check mark by the little mixer and that she wants. And then on page 6, there's a big check mark on the 130-piece bargain buffet mini foods. And then there's this whole set of Action Fun appliances to go with her kitchen that she got last year. And so now it's going to be a coffee pot, a toaster, and a mixer blender combination. And then on the next page is this glitzy get-ups. It's ladies, it's what you grew up with, a trunk full of play clothes, a dress up, but now it costs $65 to play dress up now. And then there's I would call this a kiosk. It's a little rolly thing that you put your plastic food in to sell to mom and dad. And it just goes, it's just every page there's a check mark. And this is pretty convicting. There's stuff she checked for Brooks. Anyway, and it just goes on and on and on. And it's just, and so I'm going, that's really what we're talking about as adults, and she's over there doing it. It's like, I'm not worried. A child doesn't worry. It's like, Terry goes, Mary never asks me when she gets up and comes down the stairs, are we going to have breakfast? It's, what's for breakfast? And see, we as adults, we've left that childlike, not childish. Many of us are childish in here. But we've left our childlike wonder and amazement at life where we trust. We just trust. It's not, Mom, did Daddy make enough money to buy food? It's like, what's for breakfast? And God's going, in my heart this season, come on, this is what I want from you, son. A childlike trust and wonder. Ask me. Ask me. Ask me. Ask me. You don't get it because you don't ask. Did Jesus say that? Yeah, He did. You have not because you ask not. And I'm going, okay, this Christmas, I'm fighting this Christmas to be childlike in my faith and to not let one thing rob me of all that Jesus has for me. So then Tuesday, we fly to Orlando via Cincinnati. Well, whoever thought of that? Anyway, so we wake up here and we drive to the airport in the snow. Remember, it snowed this gorgeous flakes that morning. And end up in Orlando that afternoon with our mock turtlenecks and all that. Anyways, it was awesome. And so we get down there, and I wasn't sure what to expect. We do this conference every year. We've worked for this ministry for 10 or 12 years, and we had some things that they wanted us to do this year. And the work kind of paid for our room. It was one of those. It wasn't a paying gig, but it was a worthwhile investment of missing work or whatever because we love this ministry and what they do. But more than that, and you're going to understand this sentence in a minute, we went hungry for what, again, this month, I'm telling you, we've turned it up a notch at our house. It's like I'm hungry for God to have His way in me and to do what He wants to do in my life. And so we go down there not knowing what to expect. Anyway, there's a particular teacher who had a couple of books that we've used in church as tools and references and curriculum, 6 or 8 weeks or whatever. And so I had read those, and the books were pretty good, but I'm really hard on books. But anyway, so we get down there, and this guy begins to speak. And just suffice it to say, Terry and I had some floor time on our faces. It was one of those where, I was just undone about these deep things God's doing in me. And he didn't talk about this, but that was happening simultaneously while I've been praying and studying, and God, what are you wanting to say to Charlotte Road? And one of the verses that I'd really been struggling with and working through is this verse, and still this isn't the sermon, just stay with me one more minute and we're going to get there. It's all going to tie together, I promise. But when Mary, we talked a little bit about this last week. Remember we talked about, where are you, Terry? Miss Terry, the Sunday school teacher, is she gone? Okay, now I've embarrassed her because anyway, all right. But you know what she gave the kids this morning in class? Throwaway cameras. Isn't that awesome? Anyway, last week we used this illustration about, where's your camera, George? About this guy that used to walk around town through the alleys and stuff, taking pictures with a camera. Anyway, so Terry handed out disposable cameras this week, and so the kids get to go take pictures of what God is like to them, which ought to be fascinating. So anyway, we were talking about that. And we got to the point where Elizabeth finds out that she's going to have a child, and then Gabriel shows up to Mary, and she finds out she's going to have a child, and they get together and they do their women thing. Oh, it's holy, and all this stuff. And then, okay, I didn't mean to offend you. You're shaking your head at me. And so they get together and they talk about this and this and this, and then Mary begins to sing this song that is called in church stuff, the Magnificat, and that it's sung in all over the world. This thing of Mary. Anyway, there's a line in this song that says this. It's Luke chapter 1, verse 53, and it says, "He has filled the hungry with good things, but sent the rich away empty." And stay with me here again, okay? This is just incredible. The word, listen, don't get hung up on rich. See, some of us in here get really hung up on that word, and this is not what that means. This is not talking about somebody that has a lot of money, okay? This has nothing to do with, well, it has something to do with it. But the bigger picture when it talks about rich in this verse is self-sufficient. See, that's the real danger of rich, is becoming self-sufficient and not needing anything. Presumably not needing anything. So anyway, one of our friends at this conference this week, who used to play in the NFL, the conference that we work at and go to is a conference for pro athletes. Primarily this one is about pro baseball. But there was a speaker there who had been in the NFL, pro football player, and he told this story about his son, one of his sons, that has this disease or illness that is just incredibly rare, where he does not feel pain. I don't know the name of it, but he feels no pain. And so they have to watch him closely, because he'll just reach in the oven to get a couple of cookies off the cookie thing that's baking, not knowing that it's 400 degrees, and so if they don't watch, he'll burn himself all over. Or he can play a game and be running and just do a face plant on the concrete and not feel anything. Brooks? Okay. When I was a young person, and I would sit in the back, and the preacher saw us talking, he would just stop in the middle. Bobby, would you please stand up and lead us in prayer? And Brooks almost got to pray for y'all. All right. Another time, my mom was a church piano player, and we had two aisles coming down, and there was a middle section. I was like on aisle 2 in the middle, and my mom was playing the piano over here, and I was talking, and in the middle of the song, she scoots out the bench, gets up, walks down the steps like this, comes to aisle number 2, reaches in and grabs me by my ear, picks me up and marches me all the way out the back, wears my rear out on the front steps of First Baptist Church, Kermit, Texas, takes me back, sits me down, goes back up, sits down, and resumes playing the piano. Okay. Yeah, there you go. See, Miles's son, listen carefully, you got to remember this Christmas. That's what rich is. When we get to the place where we don't feel that we're hungry. We get to this place where we don't think we're needy and we're starving to death spiritually, but our flesh is full. It's full because we've fooled it with all of this stuff, our pride and our arrogance and our this and our that, and we're starving to death inside, but we have this illness, this disease that doesn't let us feel it. And so we're starving to death. And so Terry and I go to Orlando. It's like, I'm hungry. I'm not going to starve to death. I am going to do whatever I have to do to fight the flesh and go, God, I'm hungry for you. I'm starving for you, God. Feel the hunger of my soul. I want to feel that I'm hungry. Does that make sense? That's the cry of our heart right now where we are spiritually. And it's like, God, I'm hungry. I don't want to fill up my flesh that means absolutely nothing, but I want to fill up my spirit and my soul with all of who you are. Bless you. That's the problem. Bless you. That's the problem. Listen, we don't want to admit that we have a need. We're so full of ourselves. Oh, I got my stuff together. Really? Do you? I can handle this. Can you? I mean, we walk around, how you doing? Fine, fine. We're faking each other out, and we're not going to admit I'm hungry and I'm starving here. We have to admit we're hungry. We have to admit we're helpless. That's such a fight because we don't want to. We don't want to admit we're needy. But until you do, He's going to send you away empty, it says. Golly. See, rich is not, I don't mean anything by this. I'm trying to make a word picture, okay? Please don't think anything by this. We think rich is Williamson County. We have this, that's not rich. Listen, we're at this conference. If you want to talk about that kind of rich, we're at this conference. I'm sitting in my small group that I'm leading with gazillionaires. Gazillionaires. I'm the richest guy in the room. I am. And I told them that. I'm the richest guy here. I'm rich in my marriage. I'm rich with my kids. I'm rich with my friends. I'm rich with my church family. I'm rich in God's purpose and plans for my life. I'm so rich. But that's not what it's talking about. Okay? Here it's talking about this, our need. Okay? All right. Or what we don't think we have a need. Anyway, I got to hurry. In Luke 1:53, in Mary's song, this is fascinating to me. She's a teenage girl, like 14 or 15 years old, when the angel shows up and says, and this is the verse we're going to get to, when the angel goes, Mary, greetings, highly favored one. Wow. Is this 14-year-old girl. And when she sings this song, every line of this song comes from the Old Testament that she's learned and loved and cherished and prayed. I mean, she's 14 years old and she sings this incredible song based on the Old Testament, these covenants and prophecies. It's just, it raises the bar for you 14-year-olds. And it raises the bar for you 53-year-olds. And it raises the bar for all of us. Okay, anyway, that's not the sermon. Anyway, so she draws from Psalm 107, 4 through 9. Do you have that, Herschel? Did I give you that? Attaboy. Psalm 107. I'm just going to show you this real fast. In verse 9 it says, the very same thing she said, for He satisfies the thirsty and fills the hungry with good things. Okay, but look back at 4. Some wandered in desert wastelands. Boy, that's me. There are times in my life when I'm wandering, finding no way to a city, lost, where they could settle. So that shows they're unsettled. Okay, so they're wandering, they're wasting away, they're lost, they're unsettled. But then in verse 6, but then they cried out to the Lord. See, they cried out going, God, we're needy. I need you. I've told you this before. I don't mean to drag that up, but my kids, there's a line that they have a hard time saying. They have a hard time saying in my house, I was wrong. I was wrong. I mean, my kids, it's like, come on, say it. Anyway, all right. So, but these people are they're not having a hard time. We have a hard time saying, I need you. You got to learn to say it. I need you, God. I'm needy. I'm dying inside. I'm thirsty and I'm hungry for you. We got to get over our little churchy, have it all together, Mr. This, Miss That we really? I'm the first one to tell you. I'll be the first one to stand up and say, I am needy. I need Jesus. Please, let's get to that place as a church. Because you know what? When we don't get to that place and we don't admit it, you know what happens? We try to hide it. Well, the pastor doesn't know what he's talking about. Listen to him. And we do all this to each other, and it's just disgusting. It really is. There's no other word for it. All right. Never mind. All right. So verse 5, and they were hungry and thirsty. There's the admission. They were hungry and thirsty, and their lives ebbed away. The word life there means vitality, the passionate existence of a life. The passionate existence, the vitality of their life was ebbing away. Sound like someone in here? Sound like you maybe? Me? Where my vitality, my passion to live, where did that go? God, where did that go? I used to have such a passion for life. Where did that go? You're needy, you're hungry, you're thirsty, admit it. Okay? But he fills the hungry with good things, verse 9 says. This word is used in the context of seeking the ultimate purpose in life. Another way to say that is life to the fullest. He fills the hungry with life to the fullest. But you can't be filled if you don't admit you're hungry. Luke 12:15 says, a man's life. There's that word, vitality, passionate existence. A man's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions. That's not what makes you rich. I tell you the truth, Matthew says in 19:23. It is, okay, stay with me. Matthew 19:23. This is another one of those that I have to unlearn and redefine. That's kind of a word I've been horsing around in my head for like the next series or whatever that we do. Redefine. Just what do I need to redefine in my life? One of them is this. It's this, and again, it's probably not you, it's probably me. And my mom must have done something when she pulled my ear in church. But here's what I heard. I tell you the truth, it is hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Okay, so in most of my life, I've had this thought of, oh yeah, see, it's not good to be rich because rich people, it's hard for rich people to go. That's not what it means. And then the whole thing of kingdom of heaven. It's not talking about heaven. The word there is the same word that's used interchangeably over and over. Matthew's the only one, the Gospel of Matthew's the only writer that uses kingdom of heaven. All the others always say the kingdom of God. It's a theon. It's this, the word. And so unlearn this. It's not saying, yeah, you see, it's hard for rich people to go to heaven. That's not what it's saying. What it's saying is, it's hard for those of us that will not admit that we're needy, that think we got it all together, we don't admit a need. It's hard for us to enter into the realm, the presence of God. It's saying what we've been saying earlier, that until we get to the place where I go, I have a need for you, Father. I'm hungry for you. Then until I come to that place, I keep getting sent away empty. I'm sent away empty. And it's not Him that's sending me, it's me. It's me that's sending myself away because I think I'm all that and I got it all together and I don't have a need. And so I'm empty over and over and over again. So what he's saying is it's hard for those who are self-sufficient to get to the place where we understand that we have a need. Does that make sense? Between Francis Chan and all this other stuff this week, and I'm wrestling with this on my own. I told my small group, I said, guys, we're going to cut this a little short because I got to go get a loan. There were things going on down in I thought I knew the deep parts of me. This was like the deeper than deep. Just where God was trying to get my attention about some things personally. Anyway. Okay. So now go to Luke chapter 1. Luke chapter 1. Start in verse 26, please. Luke 1:26. Okay, so Elizabeth and Zechariah just found out that, remember, they were in their old age, somewhere between, probably in their 70s. They're in their old age, and she's been barren, and the angel shows up and says, you're going to have a son, his name's going to be John. Okay, then in the 6th month, it's referring to Elizabeth's pregnancy. In the 6th month of her pregnancy, God sent the angel, same angel, Gabriel, to Nazareth. Nazareth, remember, is like the scumbag town. It's looked down on. It's not whatever. God sent the angel there to a town in Galilee to a virgin pledged to be married to a man named Joseph, a descendant of David. The virgin's name was Mary. The angel went to her and said, hey, hello, greetings, that's what it means. Hello, you are highly favored of the Lord. Wow! Can you imagine? See, just a quick history lesson. The Old Testament, now this is like, it's hard to even consider this the New Testament. Jesus hasn't come yet. So there's like this Old Testament paradigm, mindset. This Old Testament mindset. Okay, let me refresh your memory on what that was, okay? Because it makes this greeting really that much more unusual. It was that the Old Testament understanding was that God was demanding. By the way, when I talk about this, you're going to hear yourself and some of your beliefs in God, and you're going to find that a lot of what you believe is very Old Covenant. Okay? So listen, feel this stuff, all right? When you hear things like, yeah, that's what I've always thought. That's wrong? Yeah. Okay, so what am I going to do about it? You got to ask yourself these one more rabbit. I promise this is the last one. Listen, we have got to unlearn. We have to unlearn what we've become comfortable with. It's like we become comfortable with coming, getting in our pew. She's sitting in my pew. We get comfortable. Steve, you threw me for a loop. You're supposed to be over there. No, I'm playing. But it's like, okay, I'm going to go in. I'm going to sit in my usual place. We're going to sing 3 hymns. Oh, no, they've added some choruses. What now? We have to walk our offering down? Oh, man. It's like, we got to... What are we doing? All right, so we got to unlearn some of this stuff. Anyway, so we've just become comfortable with the same old way, and we want a preacher that gives us a sermon that has 3 points, a poem, and a prayer, and and then I can go check on my roast. We've got to stop coming to church like that. I've got to walk through these doors, not even church. I mean, man, I'm way off now. I've chewed off so much more than I can chew, and I'm sawing myself off here. I'm out on a limb, sawing the limb. Let me just say for me and my family, I am going to fight through the modus operandi of how it's always been. The status quo. It's not enough. It's not enough for me for my spiritual life to be 1 hour a week. Are you kidding? I want the other part of my life to be 1 hour a week, and me after Jesus every other hour. You know? Okay. Anyway, so the Old Testament understanding was that God was demanding, that He was an angry judge that was looking around all of the time, just anxious to find somebody that did something wrong so that there could be punishment. That's the old covenant idea of God. He only blessed you if you did well. He punished harshly if you sinned. It was this belief that you get what you deserve. Whoa. Okay, I won't chase that one. I told you I was through. Illnesses were the result of sin. Remember when the disciples said to Jesus, there was a blind guy, and he goes, Jesus, who sinned, his mom or his dad? I mean, that was that old paradigm of thought that God was this deal, and if somebody sinned, oh, you're going to get this disease and illness, and that's your punishment. And if you really, really sinned, then you really got the punishment. It led to belief that God was in the business of like balancing some kind of eternal checkbook. God was balancing this thing out, you know, and where there were these external rewards and punishments were handed out and doled out on the basis of good works, good behavior, bad behavior, because they understood that God was watching closely, anxious, eager to punish the slightest little mix-up. The assumption was that God's love was conditional. Oh, you know what? Some of us still have that. I got news for you. His love is not conditional. He loves you, period. You don't know what I've done. Don't have to. He loves you, period. Okay, so that whole paradigm was that God's love was conditional, and it was always in flux. It was always moving. You couldn't quite figure it out. And the moment one sinned, it's like God sitting in a swivel chair. Did you ever play with those swivel chairs? You know, you get in them and spin them around. Okay, anyway. Okay, I guess I'm the only one. All right, it's like God's sitting in a swivel chair, and as long as I'm good, He's spacing me. But if I sin, He spins around and He turns His back on me. Some of us still have that idea of God. That's not who God is. That's not how God loves. Okay. And so it's like God could not be pleased. We're not that much different. We believed in the same way. We believed that same Old Testament way. Here's my little Christmas deal. It's like we have this Santa Claus God. He's making a list, checking it twice. Seriously, most of us in this room, most if not all, have grown up with this concept of God. He's making a list. He's checking it twice. Gonna find out if Mary's been naughty or nice. Santa Claus God is coming to town with his list and his little pet. Okay, Anita Wynn said, no, she sinned there. Bad girl. Turn my swivel chair. What? But that's where she was. God couldn't be pleased. It was into this understanding that one day Gabriel shows up to this 14-year-old girl and says, hello. What? God doesn't say hello? Whoa. God is this far off, distant, whatever. And the angel, Gabriel, God sends Gabriel this one day. Hey, what's up? Seriously, that's what it's saying. What's up? Highly favored one? What? How could that be? God hates us. God's punishing all. Hey, highly favored one. Wow. Wouldn't you love to hear that? Wouldn't you love to hear that? Get out your camera, George. Mary, open it up. Here it comes. Watch this. He does say that to you, and He says it to me. It's in Ephesians chapter 1. Turn there real quick. Keep your finger in Luke. We're coming back. Ephesians chapter 1. Oh, this is so good. By the way, those of you who are visiting and you're going, "What, God, what kind of preacher is this?" Listen, if you come back, you don't have to come. If you come back after today, no, I'm playing. If you come back, here's a promise that I have made to these people at this sweet church. Is you may be tired from what you did Saturday night. You may have had a hard week, and you want to. And your eyes are rolling up, and you're bobbing for apples. Because I see that a lot. But listen, it will not be because I haven't worked hard to not make this boring. There is not one boring thing about this book. I get on my high horse about it. It's a sin it's not a sin like written in the Bible. I'm using this word loosely. It's a sin to me that a preacher would ever present the Bible in a boring way. I want to take him out back and roll him around. It's like, are you kidding? This is thrilling. What's up? I mean, really? How can you make that boring? Okay, so please give me another chance, visitor. All right, no, never mind. Ephesians chapter 1, verse 6. I'm getting so far ahead of myself. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and get ahead of myself. Verse 3. Praise be to the Lord, to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who has blessed us in the heavenly realms. Go to verse 6, and then I'll back up, because here's the same word. This is my point. To the praise of His glorious grace, which He has freely given us in the one He loves. To the praise of His glorious grace, which He has freely given us in the one, capital O, Jesus, He loves. To the praise of the glorious grace He has given us, you, me, that it's the very same word. That word is found 2 times in the New Testament. One to Mary and one to you. Isn't that awesome? So when He goes, "Sup, highly favored one," it's to you. It's to me. He's saying to me, "Bobby, my highly favored one, son." Yes, Lord, that's you. It's not just, we got this idea that